Welcome to the Filmcast review of Rebel Moon, Part 1, A Child of Fire, Dead Reckoning. No, I'm just joking. That part's not in the title, but it's a long, lengthy title. Here is the plot summary from online. Quote, when a colony on the edge of the galaxy finds itself threatened by the armies of the tyrannical Regent Belisarius, they dispatch a young woman with a mysterious past to seek out warriors from neighboring planets to help them take a stand, end quote. This movie is directed by Zack Snyder. As I've discussed, this is only part 1. Part 2 is coming in April of 2024.
What a threat.
Zack Snyder has also indicated that there is going to be some kind of director's cut. Like, it's kind of built in right from the beginning. No announcement date on when that director's cut is coming, but I think it's supposed to be around like 4 hours long or something along those lines. Kind of a Snyder cut, Justice League type situation.
Because Netflix would not allow him to have cut of the movie.
Yeah,
Nonsense.
Yeah. I think I agree with you, Jeff, that it is a marketing gimmick. Guys, I want to tell you the story of a creative person who made like one or two cool things early on in his career, and people liked it, and they kept encouraging him, like keep making things, and he kept doing it. He kept making more things, even past the point where it became clear that like maybe he's just not very good at making these things. But enough about David Chen making podcasts. Like, let's I don't know why that story came to mind. I mean, let's talk about Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. Devindra Hardwar, what did you think?
What was the thing you made as a young person that was so great that people encouraged you to
disappointed
keep
by this?
I said David Chen making podcasts.
Okay.
Made some good podcasts, and then clearly, it's like, should this person keep doing this? Devindra Hardwar, Zack Snyder. I'm just gonna say, bit of a mixed bag. Like in terms of his career, right? Like, obviously started super strong. Dawn of the Dead, 300. A lot of people will defend Watchmen. I think it's a fairly good adaptation.
Yeah.
Then obviously all of his involvement with the DC universe, and we can't, of course, forget the Guardians of Ga'Hoole. But what did you think of this movie, given what we know about Zack Snyder and what he's been able to do? I mean, I was excited because it's like, hey, even if it's bad, at least he's not messing with these beloved characters. That at
least he's not doing that.
Right?
But yeah.
So, what do you think of Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts. But basically, this movie is as if Zack Snyder took his rejected pitch for Star Wars and proceeded to make dumb Star Wars. Let's talk about dumb Star Wars. Star Wars features an interesting array of characters who are memorable and will live with them forever. Dumb Star Wars says no. What if boring characters who have names that you won't remember at all? Star Wars has one of the most iconic villains of all time. Dumb Star Wars says, what if there's a Nazi general who likes tentacle porn? Star Wars opens with a crawl of text to really set the stage and introduce you into the world. Dumb Star Wars reads that text aloud to make you aware of how fucking stupid it all sounds. But dumb Star Wars is not content to just be dumb Star Wars. It also turns into dumb Avatar. It turns into dumb Seven Samurai, because that was essentially like what they were doing. There is nothing interesting or redeeming about this movie. Like, I watched this movie over the course of 4 days because every time I started,
just on repeat.
Oh, no. Every time I started, within 30 minutes or so, I was just like falling asleep. I don't need sleeping pills. I have Rebel Moon, because I will be fully alert, awake, caffeinated, start watching this movie. It is such a slog. It is such a like a voluminous amount of nothing happening to you all at once that it just makes me want to fall fucking asleep. So 4 days it took me to watch this movie. Very little happens. I don't care about anybody involved here. There is some action, but it's also shot in a way where it's also like, okay, cool choreography, except it doesn't mean anything. Action has to mean something. This movie lurches forward from scene to scene like a zombie from Dawn of the Dead, and it takes us nowhere. And it's stunning to me that we have a part 2 coming. It's even more stunning that he's threatening a longer movie at me because nothing happens in this movie. It's one of the worst movies I've seen this year, and I fucking hate it. Next question.
I gotta say, it's actually quite rare for Devindra to go for the throat like that.
I
Please.
agree. I've never heard him talk so viciously.
Well, the wrestling thing really worked me up, but also
really, yeah.
I hate
you got to
this
get out of
movie.
character. You got to
I
break
hate
the
this
kayfabe.
movie.
Yes.
Good God.
If you're just listening, by the way, patrons are getting this review early. So if you're just listening to the review part, that was a reference to something that happened earlier in the podcast that you're going to listen to next week. Okay, Jeff Kanata, what did you think of Rebel Moon, Child of Fire?
Well, Dave, I guess you could say what I thought of Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, is best summed up in the form of a limerick.
All right, hit me with it, Jeff.
Each cool element that it stole doesn't add to a cohesive whole. It's clear Snyder harbors a real love of Star Wars, but his cover never captures its soul.
Perfect.
This is how you know Jeff Kanata is the Eminem of movie limericks, is because he rhymed harbors with Star Wars. I mean, that's just...
Yeah, you're right.
That is
You're
outside
welcome.
of the box.
Amazing.
That you can't get anywhere else,
I cannot bring myself to hate this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
I can't. I enjoyed it more than Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom.
That's insane.
I
That
did.
is insane. But go ahead, Jeff.
I did.
Good God.
I think this movie is beautiful. I think he can't help but create kind of cool image. Yes, it's awash in effects, and there's a lot of people standing in front of green screens, but I still think he knows how to make a captivating image, and there's cool ways of reimagining stuff we've seen over and over. Like, for example, the way a laser pistol might work. Like, I like the muzzle flash thing that he does with the laser pistols. It seemed neat. And I think he has sort of an inherent visual style that I have always taken to. Like, I think that Snyder, ramped slow-mo action thing is neat. He has a visual style that I can totally understand if it's off-putting to people. If it's like, well, he did this in 300, move on. Well, he hasn't. And I don't mind it. I actually kind of dig it. I have the perfect analogy, I think, for this movie, and it kind of dates me, but you guys are old. You'll get it.
Have you ever heard of the Lumiere brothers?
Flight to the moon? Was
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
No, there was a band back in 2001, I believe, called Alien Ant Farm.
Yes. Yeah.
And they put out a cover of Michael Jackson's Smooth Criminal.
Yep.
And
you're bringing this all back to me, Jeff.
For months, you could not get away from that song. It was everywhere. This was back in the day when you listened to the radio because there was no way to stream music. And so I listened to the radio and I was inundated with really pop punk version of what is, I thought, a pretty darn good Michael Jackson song. This cover was everywhere. People seemed to love it. It did the song, and it wasn't awful. It wasn't a terrible cover, but there's no universe where I'd prefer watching or listening to that song over the original. And I think if you're going to do a cover, maybe bring some, I don't know. It felt to me like a soulless cover. And that's what this movie feels like. It feels like a cover song for Star Wars that didn't really need to be made, but also isn't terrible. There are terrible things about it. I will not disagree with Devindra on many points, including the fact that we are, for some reason, introduced to a wide array of characters for no reason whatsoever.
One after another.
There is a cobbling together of a team for no reason.
Well, okay,
they got to defend the village.
Let's be fair. Let's be fair. Okay, which is that here's what I will say, and I don't think what I'm about to say is a spoiler, but it is called Rebel Moon Part 1: A Child of Fire. Part one, A Child of Fire, implies that this story is incomplete.
Agreed.
And it feels extremely incomplete. Like, and it is possible that stuff that all the introductions
100%
will come into play in part two.
Well, it is very clearly doing that. It's very clearly setting up a team to handle a larger threat come episode 2.
But at the end of part one, it feels like there is no reason why we met these people, right? Like that's as of the end of part one.
I think maybe I was not clear enough in my critique in that it's not so much that we meet them for no reason. It's that this movie provides no joy in meeting them.
There is no joy in this movie in general. But yes, Jeff, I agree.
There is no joy in Rebel Moonville.
Yeah,
according to Jeff Canada.
I listen. I can't bring myself to hate this. Like, there is. We'll get to spoiler stuff, but there is an extended sequence. I sat down with this movie and went, "Oh man, I know people have been hating this. I expect it to be bad." And I think the first, 20 minutes, there's some really interesting tension and dynamics. There's this really cool kind of standoff tete-a-tete power dynamic that's established that I thought was well executed. I thought it was pretty darn cool. The actor who's playing Darth Vader, whatever character he's called.
That is well beyond 20 minutes, Jeff. That is over half an hour into.
Well, there you go.
I would know because of how I broke up my viewing. Yeah.
I liked that much of the movie. I was in. I'm like, dude, this is cool.
40 minutes into the movie. In. Yes.
Yes, I'm in. I'm digging this. And
I will say he is good. Ed Skrein
his performance is
knows
awesome.
exactly what he is doing.
He's chewing scenery, baby. Yeah. And we get a overly polite robot played by Anthony Daniels. Hopkins, and
who narrates the opening for some reason. Yeah.
Yeah. And
nicely done, Jeff.
And like there's some cool stuff there. I'm digging the look and feel of it. Yes, it's a riff on Star Wars. It is a cover song for Star Wars. And yes, does it proceed to get dumber? 100% it does. Does it start wildly throwing characters in? We're meeting them. There doesn't even seem to be a great reason to meet them. In that our character
there is no narrative construction for a lot of this movie. You're just going from place to place.
That's right. That is absolutely right.
It feels extremely video game, fetch, but not even
the
logic.
Setup.
Not even the logic that many video games have.
I know this great sword fighter on this planet.
It's agreed. And we meet these archetypes that's like, man, you just lifted this whole cloth from something else.
It's all stolen from a different thing. Like, it's not just Star Wars. There's also Avatar. There's also like every samurai movie you've ever seen.
Yeah. Obviously Star Wars stole from Seven Samurai. Yeah. Like, that's not a secret.
So what do you call a cover of a cover? Is the thing, which
it's
is
a
what
Xerox
I
copy of a Xerox copy. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Listen.
That is homeopathic medicine to me. That's medicine with like a drop of something in it, but not even the key ingredient. Yeah.
I'm attempting to walk a precarious line, Devindra, that says I don't think this is good, but I don't hate it. I get
it. I totally get it, Jeff. But when you say you enjoy this more than Aquaman 2, which is at least commits to being a full-on cartoon with coherent action scenes of plot points that connect to one another and characters you may not like, but at least have some vague emotional connection to, it's a big difference.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I think that's so. Let me just say, I'll share a few thoughts, and then we have lots to discuss as spoilers, but. I actually agree with Jeff in the sense that I also didn't hate it. Like, people are really negative on this film. I think Devindra represents a lot of the movie watching public.
This, by the way, is when you guys reviewed X-Men Apocalypse without me, I think, by the way, and I was on the other side of the world screaming into my headphones, like saying how terrible it is. But yes, go ahead.
Yeah. I think this movie is bad. Like, I'm not saying it's a good film, but. For all the reasons we've already discussed, like narratively, it's a mess. The fact that it's part one, it doesn't feel like a cohesive story. And there's going to be a lot of people. Well, I think we've driven away most of Snyder fans at this point. There's going to be some people who are Snyder fans who are like, "You got to watch. Can you evaluate half a movie?" And it's like, well, we're evaluating what is in front of us right now. And based on what we have seen so far, a lot of the flaws of this movie are down to putting aside just like the arc of the story. how memorable does it make these characters? How logical does it make their choices? How satisfying is this first half just taken as its own individual work of art? And the answer to most of those questions for me is like not very impressively. I didn't like the movie very much. Now, and I think, by the way, the final 20 minutes
Good God.
is ludicrous. Like it's just
it is really
it's ridiculous to me
happening?
that they thought that he thought he could end this first half like this part ends, and we'll talk about it in spoilers. But I will say this. There's like 1.5 good action scenes in the movie.
I agree.
So
I
it's
agree.
like, hey, any movie that has like 1.5 good action scenes can't be that terrible.
I think there's maybe one good action scene, but yeah.
I mean, it can be pretty terrible. So anyway, I did not think it was good, nor did I hate the experience of watching it, because
Same.
the cast is good. It's one of the, honestly, an incredible cast.
Are they good?
I don't know if I would agree with the cast is good.
Yeah. Are they good? This movie opens. I love Sofia Boutella. I will watch her in anything. I think she's incredibly compelling. Sofia Boutella doing farm work. Not like, I don't believe any of this. Guys, you look at this girl like, what? You put her to plow the fields? What is happening here? Why does everybody look like a supermodel? Like, that's the other, you're in a farming village in like a far off galaxy. Where'd you get the hair product from?
I don't. If that's your problem with the movie,
no, but that's the thing about Star Wars is like, okay, Han Solo is a good looking dude, but everybody is like, at least like there's like a believability to the universe of Star Wars, right? Which I think is really, really compelling.
Yeah.
Whereas this one is like, why are they all so beautiful?
You could say that about 300 as well.
Yeah,
right?
I have problems with 300. I think 300 is a deeply racist mess of a film too. So
it's a fair point that Devindra is making, I think, which is like, if you don't buy that these characters are who they are, it will inhibit. I do think it's that Zack Snyder, in my opinion, makes interesting casting choices, and so it doesn't always work. But like, one of the things I've never faulted or not never, but like one of the things I don't fault Zack Snyder for is the casting. I think he did a great job casting the DC universe. I think he's done a great job casting all of his movies, and many of the choices are unconventional. They're not household names. And so I do salute it, even though it doesn't work for you and a lot of other people. I do salute his ability to try it. All right, we have a lot more to discuss. Like, so let's do spoilers, okay? But yeah, overall, Jeff and I didn't hate it, didn't think it was
Burn
great.
It, send it to hell.
Devindra, I really didn't like it.
We're gonna have to review part 2 now, because we have started down this path.
The question is, Devindra, are we going to review part 2 and also the 4-hour director's cut? That's the question.
You guys could do that one by yourselves.
Yeah, that'll be an after dark.
You want to like find good things from this movie? Go have fun, please.
Actually, I think it's 4 hours for just part 1, so maybe the whole saga will be 8 hours. All right,
amazing.
Let's get to spoilers for Rebel Moon Part 1: A Child of Fire, starting right now. All right, so I thought the first part of the movie was actually pretty cool. Father Sindri is played by Corey Stoll, obviously great actor. And yeah, Jeff, the dynamic of like who's in charge and all that stuff.
All that, like, who's going to betray who. Like the standoff, and that like the tension of all of that, I'm being uber polite to you, but I also am a menace. Like, I just thought that all played out so beautifully.
I mean, that's the opening of Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah,
it's opening a lot. I mean, it's not a unique scene in cinema.
I think Ed Skrein is the best thing about this movie, because he at least knows the level of trash he's committing to it.
Yeah.
And I think maybe Snyder at least gave like more thought to what this character is, or at least let Ed Skrein have his own, fun with it or something. Yeah.
Also gave Ed Skrein one of the worst haircuts I've ever seen, which is just amazing.
Amazing.
So I thought that was pretty spectacular. Also pretty bold. So we're in spoilers, but pretty bold to cast someone like Corey Stoll and then just murder him immediately. I thought that was awesome. Like that. That was a shocking. I was like, oh, I thought Corey Stoll would at least live until the scene where they go to find all the people.
I totally did not recognize Corey Stoll. So
he was great. Okay, so then. What's her name? The main character.
What is her name?
Cora.
The legend of
the Jake Sully of the movie.
How dare you?
She says, "Hey, I got to get out of here. This is dangerous. I got to get out of here." And then instantly changes her mind when somebody is in danger. Right? One of
that's what heroes
not
do.
Just
that's
danger. Like
deal.
the danger that's committed is a very like blatant like, oh, we are going to rape this girl.
Yeah.
That is the danger, and
They're
that also
threatening
felt like
sexual violence. Right?
violently. It feels so weirdly tonally out of place, which is trying to be Star Wars. You know, like I
Yeah.
don't. That also felt strange to me.
I don't
Yeah.
disagree with that.
Yeah.
And then the ensuing action scene there felt like it was really edited around the PG-13 rating.
Sure.
It felt like that was a very violent scene where everything is just out of frame that we actually want to see because we need to not have it be a rated R movie.
Yeah. Although the pitch, like we kept hearing from Zack Snyder, is like he had an idea for an R-rated mature Star Wars movie. So at least like, if you're gonna do this, why? This is a Netflix movie.
Guys.
What's the point?
Did you guys not hear me say 4 hours Zack Snyder director's cut? Because
It's true.
I don't. It doesn't sound like
how
you.
he double dipped.
I blacked
Like all
out.
the blood they removed,
I
they will
blacked
just put
out
it
when you
back
said
on.
that.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like your commentary is reflecting.
Yeah.
There's gonna be another cut. Okay. So then it's like, okay, she involves herself by murdering all those guys, and is like, okay, we
Sure.
gotta get a bunch of people. I gotta put together a
Can
crew.
we go back to the early scene though? The sort of like the fight. The villain coming in, having this conversation with the farmers, truly like, I don't know what's happening with any of these people. Like the beautiful male model farmer friend, is that Gunner? What is he doing? It's like, yeah, dude, you're obviously evil. We totally got a whole bunch of stoles here. Oh my God, he killed our chief. I never expected the villain to do that.
Devindra,
They came in so kindly.
They're innocent tounsfolk. They're not cunning like you and me. Okay,
I think the implication was supposed to be that he didn't know that the other guy had lied.
Well,
They weren't
he
on the
lied
same
in front-
page.
They're all talking in front of each other.
No. Well,
no.
Michael Huisman's character, he says,
Yeah.
"Hey, maybe we should cooperate with those people." That's what he's saying. And then he's not aligned with
Yes.
Corey Stoll's character, right?
Right.
So,
But did
anyway.
they have the conversation where Corey Stoll's character lied? I forget. Like
My reading of it or recollection of it is that Corey Stoll is walking in with the bad guy, Ed Screen.
Yeah.
And
Atticus Noble.
they're like talking sotto voce, you know, they're having a private conversation, and he's like, I'm lying to you, I'm totally lying to you, and then he's like, hey, does anybody else have an input? And this guy's like, I'll tell you the truth. And he's
But
like,
they're right there. But you heard the conversation.
I don't know. I think it's plausible to read it that this guy didn't realize that his chief had lied.
But
and
even then, the sort of like
I don't agree. I think Gunnar knew what the chief was going to tell the guy, and then he purposefully violated it a little bit. He's like,
I think we could trust this guy with the giant ship.
He's not a huge dick about it. He's like,
yeah.
Oh, like maybe we have a little bit of food. He's like, maybe we have a little bit of food. That's it. And then Ed Screen takes it extremely seriously, right?
Right.
So anyway, then Cora says, "Hey, we got to go off and find some people." And then she goes and meets people, and it just so happens that they're having the most consequential moment of their entire lives.
Yeah.
Shortly after she meets every single one of them. I don't even need to go through every single one of them. Like,
you should go through all of them. All these memorable characters that kids will want to be on Halloween.
They first recruit
Charlie Hunnam is Kai, a roguish thief with a spaceship. Never seen this before.
All right, Kai, whatever, that's
fast
fine.
ship.
Fast ship.
That's
You've
fine.
never heard of Kai's spaceship?
My favorite is Tarek, right? Who is the guy who rides the big griffin thing.
Tarek's not even in the.
That scene made no sense.
So they show up to Tarek. Let me explain what happens. They show up to Tarek, right? And then Tarek's like doing woodwork. By the way, everyone in this movie's jacked and looks
jacked,
amazing.
Looks like a supermodel.
He's doing woodwork, and then they're like, "Hey, we need Tarek's help."
He's also a prisoner
for reasons.
Yeah.
And then the guy in charge is like, he has like 20 years of slavery to work off for me. And then they're like,
the guy's like, I saw this movie Avatar, right, where they train these flying animals. Can you do that here?
No. I think it's even weirder than that, because he's like, I've got this guy. He's got this huge debt on his head.
Yeah.
He has to pay it off. All right.
Yeah.
But I love gambling.
I love gambling.
I'm not going to gamble with him, even though I could have proposed this same gamble at any point
It's
in
true.
the process of imprisoning him.
Maybe Tark is just a bad negotiator.
The
you know,
the gamble has absolutely zero to do with you. You come to me and I go, hey, you know what? I'll gamble that guy's freedom on whether he can do a thing.
well, the other bet is they all become prisoners too.
Yeah.
If
I
they-
guess
if he
there's
loses.
no
Yeah.
stakes. Yeah, he already got
Yeah.
the guy.
Well,
But
okay, hold on.
but why would he not,
It's
like-
not quite as nonsensical as you're saying. Okay, it's pretty nonsensical, but
It
it's not
is
quite
pretty
as
nonsensical.
So
Yeah.
he shows up and they're like, hey, we need this guy, and he's like, but they're not going to just break him out because they're not monsters. So he's like, what is it going to cost? And he's like, it's going to cost 300,000 credits. And they're like, oh man, just
I have
barely
6.
short. We barely had we had like 290. We just barely didn't make it. And then so they're like, okay, but I'm a gambling man. So here's what: if he can tame that bird, which theoretically will have utility for the slave owner guy, then he gets to go free. And if not, then all of you become slaves. And then I guess all 3 of them quickly become like, they're like, okay, sure, why not? Let's just trust our lives with this guy who has.
I think they're probably thinking like, we will just kill them all. Like we will get the hell out of here.
Yeah, that
if,
doesn't
if
make
he
sense.
loses.
Of like,
Yeah.
we'll just trust this guy. We'll
We'll
put
trust
our
this
lives.
guy who has said no
also,
more than
like,
like 30 words to us. Yeah.
If the taming of the bird
yeah,
has so much value to this guy,
yeah,
Yep.
why didn't he just say to his prisoner, if you can tame the bird,
well, because
you
Jeff,
can go free?
Here's the thing. Here's what I think, Jeff. In my headcanon,
Uh-huh.
Bird just showed up that morning. Bird just showed up that morning. That's
New
literally
bird.
what I think.
New bird.
New bird.
Yeah, new bird. That's literally what I think happened. Like bird. That I'm not joking. That is what I think happened in the logic of the film. Is the bird shows up? They're like, we got this bird into this morning. They should have fixed it with dialogue. They should have said, we got this bird in this morning, and it's really hard to tame, and it could be really useful to us. But instead, everyone needs to be a badass and say badass things, and so they don't exposit that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So then they do a scene that's very clearly inspired by the Taruk Makta scene from Avatar. And
his name is Tarek. So
yeah.
is that a hint?
I think
where you're getting
far
it from?
worse to me is the Jimon Hinsu scene.
Yeah, it's all dad, but yeah.
Because they establish a badass gladiatorial arena.
Yeah. And then they don't
And then
show you the inside.
and then the scene is like
Look at this drunk over here.
a conversation.
Yeah.
The scene is like it's just hanging out.
Some woman hosing him down.
It's like he's gonna have to fight in the greatest gladiatorial arena. We have this establishing shot of them walking up to.
It's a gladiator. First of all, it's a gladiator planet, Jeff. So it's like
Yes.
the whole society is organized around gladiatorial combat. I'm
And
like,
yet
oh,
their-
interesting. Yeah,
Their gladiatorial arena looks suspiciously like a ruin on Earth. Like it's why would your gladiatorial arena, if you're an entire planet built around it and it's actively being used, why
Should
would
just
it
be
look
one
like
arena, the
a
whole planet.
ruin centuries after? It makes no
wouldn't
sense.
you have developed more gladiator technology
Yeah.
by that point? You
It
think?
should be like
Well,
Coruscant,
or
how
at least-
Coruscant is a planet-wide
Yeah.
city.
Yeah.
Should be a planet-wide gladiator arena.
At least, maintain it. Don't let it just be a. It's like
That's rough.
he thinks so little of the audience that the only way to convey a reference is to have it be exactly what it is in our
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
Which is it's so weird. But anyway, that's not the worst part because that
Hold
whatever. I get it.
on. Let me just close off the Tarek
finish the
thing.
bird
Let's
scene.
close off
All
the
right.
Tarek thing, which
All right,
is
close off Tarek. I'm
Tarek
sorry.
trains the bird communicates with the bird, which is a ridiculous scene, to kill
Didn't
his
even use his tail sensor or whatever.
to kill his master, and then they run off, and then the bird kills the master, and it's like, my question is, Tarek could have killed that guy at any. We've already seen he's
any
jacked.
point.
He could have killed his slave owner guy at any point. Like, why? Because he's like, I'm here. I'm working off a debt.
This
It's like,
entire movie is people being like, I never thought of that.
Yeah,
And I will say that several times. Never thought of that.
never-
Okay.
It's like if
Never
you were
occurred
gonna
to
kill
me.
the slave owner, like he's clearly
Yeah.
there working off a debt out of some kind of honor.
Mhm.
He like doesn't have to be there.
Well, he didn't kill the guy. The bird killed the guy.
The bird killed
But
the
he
guy.
said, "Attaboy." He's like,
Well,
as
he was
though-
glad the bird killed the guy, but he didn't make the bird kill the guy.
Oh, I thought there was some communication of like,
no, my understanding
Okay, all right,
was
all right.
that
fair.
he's honorably freed himself by
Yeah.
doing the thing, by winning the wager.
Yeah.
And as he walks away, the bird kills the guy, and he's like,
The
well,
bird
that-
is like,
that's a-
haven't thought of that.
"That's
That's
an
a
I
thing-
can just
outcome
kill
I-
him.
That's a thing
I
that
fully approve of."
Yeah.
You know?
All right. Well,
Yes.
Jeff, I guess that scene is not as bad as you or I thought it was. All right.
It's still pretty bad because it doesn't make any. They just run off. They just still leave, where all the other people are. Anyway, we should do the Dunabai thing. By the way, before
Nemesis, the
before
cyborg
Titus.
swordswoman.
The one good scene
Pretty
in
cool.
this movie.
Pretty cool.
That is a rad fight. Although it makes
pretty
no
cool.
sense that a spider lady shows up. Like,
Doesn't make any sense. But at
why did the
least
spider lady show up?
Spider Lady has words that give us empathy for her situation. This movie makes us care about Spider Lady. That's something.
Spider
That's
Lady was
something.
hashtag Spider Lady did nothing wrong, by the way, according to her.
Spider Lady should take over the whole
People
planet.
showed up and like polluted her home.
Yeah.
Like she's the one that was right in that.
She
situation.
should eat those children. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But the fight, whatever, Dunabai, I will watch her do anything. She's fantastic. The fight is okay. The problem is it falls into martial arts movie territory where everybody is just like hanging back. Like, you guys need her? Help her! Why? The one dude who goes in there to save the kid is the farmer that's a useless man.
Mm-hmm.
Is the one that goes in to save the kid.
Well, look,
What?
they all wanted, Nemesis clearly had issues she had to deal with herself, and they have a prime directive situation. Who are they to interfere? All right, so she's assembling all these people. It's
wait. So the Nemesis scene is a whole conversation about revenge. Revenge not worth it. That's important for the next scene.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, continue, Dave.
Well,
I will bring it up.
They recruit Titus, the disgraced.
They recruit Titus. The line is, if not redemption, what about revenge, Titus? Revenge sounds pretty good. And Titus looks up and he's like, ha ha!
I'm just angry that they established.
You got to use different techniques for different people, Devindra. Okay,
sure.
This is Chekhov's gladiatorial arena.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you're showing me a gladiatorial arena in a big giant sci-fi
I need a
action
fight.
movie,
Yes.
I need to see a gladiatorial fight.
You saw the gladiatorial washroom where they washed him off. Isn't that something, Jeff? Also, why are they helping them take this dude? Isn't he like the property of this planet? Or like, how is he just able to leave?
My sense was he's just chilling there. That was
He's just chilling there.
He's just
chilling there.
eating. Yeah.
But also, what Titus thinks is, never thought of that. Revenge. Sounds pretty good. Thank you, Cora. I'll join your ragtag group of misfits. Yeah.
All right. So they get the blood axes on board as well, and then whatever. Like,
also, the other member of the ragtag group that I don't understand why we're with him the whole time is our farmer Gunnar.
Why is Gunnar here? Like, everyone's asking.
He is clearly the reason all of this bad shit
You
happened.
started this. We keep him around.
He's there to redeem himself, Jeff. He's there to redeem himself.
Filled the ship with hair product, and we need space to live. Damn it, Gunnar.
I like spicy Devindra.
Yeah,
I'll just say that.
Just go off, King.
Hate this movie.
Okay, so anyway, they get the blood axes together, and then it's like, okay, it was very sweaty to get to this point where like you're assembling this group. It's so sweaty where it's like, oh, like all these narrative contrivances needed to happen.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, we finally got everyone together.
Sure. By the way, Ray Fisher is Blood Axe.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Pretty cool
to see Ray Fisher.
Yeah.
Cool that they have, Zack Snyder has loyalty to those who've worked with him. Pretty sweaty to get everyone together, but I'm like,
so sweaty.
But I'm like, surely the payoff for this is going to be amazing.
Oh yeah, yeah, buddy.
Surely,
just you wait.
Surely, with all the great action we got in the first half, that there is going to be some massive payoff at the end of Rebel Moon Part 1. And what happens is Charlie Hunnam's character.
Wait. We arrive at Cloud City. Excuse me. I'm sorry. A city in the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where a person we previously thought was a friend has secretly made a deal.
Has altered the deal.
He's altered the deal.
Damn it, Lando. I mean Kai.
My favorite part of this whole situation is, Kai is like, hey, I guess I can work with you guys, but first I gotta drop something off. and I'm like, thinking to myself, why would they show this unless something
why would they show this?
Was gonna
why
happen?
are they helping him with the cargoes? Like, Kai, we're friends. I'm not going to help you with your luggage.
It just kind of sucks that we got like Nemesis Cyborg Planet, Gladiator Planet, even like Village Shire Planet.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one place where they decide to stage the big finale is some random training
factory
outpost.
Planet. Yeah.
Like, we already had all these pretty cool worlds that have been created, and it's like just a random place I dropped the thing off. Now, I will say this, the little devices they use to like trap people were like
Sure.
pretty cool. That was a pretty cool thing. Where like
Oh yeah.
the
That little
robot
spider thing that
the
unfolded.
spider things that come
Yeah.
out and it so that was pretty cool.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Although
But-
I feel like you don't the whole like, all right, now you got to go up to the back of his head and kill him this way, like, or maybe just have that thing squeeze. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
like
have a-
it feels like very unnecessary.
It's very
Yeah.
unnecessary. Also, Kai was like, I never thought he'd use the spine-splitting gun against me.
I handed it.
My bad.
I handed it the spine splitting gun.
Whoopsie.
A real Deer Hunter style situation there, where you're handing the Russian roulette. I like how the cattle zapper gun has like instructions like on the screen. It's like
put it in the hole and pull the
put
trigger.
it in the hole.
Is not clear enough.
You needed to have instructions to explain how to use the cattle killing gun or whatever.
But it doesn't help that entire action scene, by the way, which takes way too long, is dull as shit.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Is like ultimately the final action scene is not that good.
The end of this movie is the worst part of this movie. That is,
it's
by
a
far
huge
the truth.
it's a huge letdown.
I would say it's probably the best part for me.
But again, because it ended. Well, but the
ended.
problem is that action sequence is not the end of the movie. There's literally 20 more minutes of the movie.
There is more.
Yeah.
Turns out Atticus Noble.
We literally do the
not quite dead.
We do the last shot of Empire Strikes Back, pulling back with our ragtag group with a Pyrrhic victory. And then the movie's like, oh, I was like, oh wow, there's 20 more minutes on the Netflix. And there was 20 more minutes.
Well, there's more, and there's a lot of credits. There's so many credits, but it was weird how they were like, "Would be nice to have a battle in this beautiful, idyllic farm village one day," and they're like, "Yes, one day, it would be a beautiful battle." We're not gonna see that here. We're gonna see that in part 2 probably, but they're also like imagining this place being torched like the Shire, which will be an absolutely traumatic event. Yeah, I do want to bring the battle right to this village, folks. Wouldn't it be beautiful?
Regarding the last action scene,
movie.
it's not horrible, but there's just nothing particularly memorable about it, other than I think it's Ray Fisher's like running up the thing, and which is also weird that they give
does the thing from Avatar
we just met 5 minutes ago the most like memorable hero moment of the thing.
And his friends are like, "No, don't, Blood Axe."
And he's got a buddy that. No, don't go, please.
Blood Axe,
please.
Oh, Blood Axe.
Blood
Axe. Oh, don't.
Come on, Blood Axe.
Yeah. And it's not a great. There's some good hand-to-hand fight scene between Atticus, what's his name, and Korra, but not a particularly good action scene. And then I'm thinking to myself, oh, okay, I understand what the movie's doing, which is, it's setting up multiple potential bosses, right? There's Atticus Noble. There's Belisarius, and then who knows? Carrie Elwes.
Carrie Elwes is the king.
Maybe he's going to be a villain at some point.
Yeah.
And they're just going to rip off Princess Bride there somehow. I betcha.
Just cast Carrie Elwes for a couple of flashback moments.
So then I'm like, okay, smart move to kill off Atticus Noble. Then didn't kill him off. He miraculously, even though everything you see on screen tells you that
if
character
they're going
to
make us watch a second one, damn well better have Atticus Noble in it. Okay, like
he was the best part of the movie.
He was the best part of the movie.
I will give him that, but
like he understood, as they say, he understood the assignment. So,
there was a part of me that was like, oh my god, they're literally going to put him in a full Vader suit.
They should.
They're gonna reconstruct it. This is like his Vader origin story moment. But they didn't.
Yeah. Instead, it's just like, hey, death doesn't mean anything in this world. Like that's literally what it feels like. Is like death doesn't really mean anything because this guy. Also, why was Anthony Hopkins in this movie at all? That's what I don't understand.
He was in this movie less than he was in Mission Impossible 2. And at the time, we made fun. We made fun of like the millions of dollars he was paid to be in Mission Impossible 2. He's a robot and he's a narrator in this movie.
I guarantee he literally phoned in this movie.
Absolutely.
Let's guess how much we think Anthony Hopkins was paid to appear in Rebel Moon Part 1 of Child of Fire.
Hopefully double billions, 10 million at least.
It's got to be.
I think probably $500,000.
It's got to be a chunk of
Hopkins
change.
does not get out of bed for $500,000.
It's got to be one of the most lucrative phone calls of all time.
It's like, Anthony, you have a podcasting setup? We got you.
Can you sit?
We could do this
entire.
entire.
It was one day in the booth. $500,000
one day in his bedroom with his USB
he
microphone.
did not leave his house. He did not leave his house.
I agree. I agree. He could have used a Blue Yeti microphone to do this role.
Yes.
Absolutely. Send me a voice memo of what you're saying. It doesn't matter. It's
Yeah.
all Netflix.
It's gonna sound processed
It's gonna
anyway.
sound fine.
It's gonna be fine. So, all right. Well, anyway, that's Rebel Moon
I
Part 1.
do wanna just take a step back. Let's just take a step back because
Take a step back,
I'm
Devindra.
here pointing out step by step how awful this movie is, how literally atrocious it is.
Sure.
But I
Yeah.
feel like you guys keep holding back just a little bit to be like, but this is a 2-hour and 13-minute movie, a tremendous waste of our time,
Sure.
which promises to waste even more of our time in the future.
Yes.
It's like a planet headed right to us, and we know we're gonna die.
Yep.
You guys are okay with
I guess
the experience?
Don't disagree with anything you've said so far.
You're like, yes.
I think, Devindra, that I found it to be generically bad and not offensively bad. That's
I
what
think
I
that's
would
a great way
describe
of putting it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what
it's
is
sort of it's sort of bad in the abstract.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm reminded of something that someone told me about Michael Bay a long time ago, which is that he's really good at directing moments, but not movies.
I don't know if that's even true here, though.
Well, I would say there's a handful of pretty cool moments. Like each scene or moment in isolation actually is pretty enjoyable. Like the moment when Sofia Boutella kills all the people in the village. That pretty cool. Duna Bay showing up and using swords, and
it's really just the Duna Bay scene for me. Like even that first Sofia Boutella,
Titus getting hosed down underneath the Coliseum.
Where we expect a Coliseum fight. Poor Blood Axe running off.
Blood Axe running up the thing. Like those are cool moments. Now together they don't make a good movie. But like the individual moments, I think, are still pretty cool, and so
I just feel like
I think that's true.
Listen, we know Zack Snyder has made good movies before. I think the problem here is that I don't know how much of the script he wrote, but it does feel like there is no narrative cohesion. Is the thing. Like it feels like he wanted to do a Star Wars story, forced like the basic premise of the Seven Samurai in there, and just really did not care about actually telling an interesting story. And to me, I feel offended as an audience member for having to sit through this, because it's like you're not even doing the job. You're not doing the legwork of building the story, making me care about these characters or anything. I've seen plenty of bad movies too. I think what pushes this over from being generically bad to offensively bad is how literal the copying is. Like how much money they threw at this thing as well. Like it is such a big project. I look at this, I'm like, you're a talented guy, Zack Snyder. Also, hundreds of millions of dollars went into this movie. And what do we get out of it? We get a lifeless husk of a movie, a soulless thing that will distract our attention for 2 hours. And I think I have to look up and be like, no, I don't want any more of this. That's
all right. Well, that is fair.
I mean, who am I to disagree with that?
I don't disagree with much of what you said.
I feel like I
we're on the
apply
same
all
page.
of that to Aquaman: The Last Kingdom,
Mm.
and I feel
there is such a difference, though.
mishmash
Like, it's not a
of-
great movie.
Here's how I would summarize it: is Zack Snyder wanted to do the whole thing he did with Justice League, with this movie, but he didn't realize you can skip the part where you make a crappy 2+ hour long film that feels like it was cobbled together and missing massive scenes and sequences.
Well, also, it helps when you're dealing with characters that have 75 years of cultural touchstone with them. And if you're inventing new characters and you're just like, we're just going to like shorthand who they are and what their deal is.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you can do that with, Wonder Woman and even Cyborg. You can't really do that with
Nemesis,
dude that we just met.
Yeah, I agree. But I don't know. I'm look, guys, this is the last time I'm going to mention this, but
oh boy,
Zack Snyder's Justice League was not bad. Like the 4-hour-long movie was not bad.
We all agreed with that. We all agreed. We were there. We recorded the podcast.
I said it was better.
There
than
is
the Joss Whedon.
There is a terrible possibility we must confront that Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, 4-hour cut.
Could be good.
Might be good.
Less bad.
I hate that they made us watch this version first.
The stuff we got
I'm
is
infuriated
so
at that.
dull and boring that more of it is not. How would that help? If anything, less of it and more focused storytelling would be the answer.
This is what I was saying all the time when we were talking about doing the longer cut of Justice League. I was that guy. I was you going, there's no way that more of this dreck can make this movie better. And then I had to eat my words because I had to admit
it was pretty
better.
Good. It was pretty good. It was not bad.
Better.
It was not bad.
That feels like such a weird one-off example is the thing too. And we're talking about Watchmen. The problem with Watchmen,
literally the same guy.
Yeah, same guy, though.
Because it was another edit, another movie. He dumped the footage that he didn't like from the other. It is a different creative project.
Joss Whedon took over as Justice League.
Yes,
that's
so
a fair
he was
point.
fixing somebody else's creative vision, whereas this is his creative vision. And more of it, I don't know if it necessarily will be the thing. So anyway, we're going to review part 2.
Listen, I'm not looking forward to watching a 4-hour version of this. I'm going to let
it sounds
Dave
like you guys
watch
like it a lot.
I'm going to let Dave watch it and then tell me if I have to watch it. But I will say, I am one of those people that defends his Watchmen as somebody that absolutely loved the graphic novel for a long time. And I think there's something, I know you're going to hate this, but there's something endearing to me about his like unabashed fandom.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
This is literally like a fan flick of a Star Wars movie. And just like a lot of fan films, it's not very good. And it kind of misses the point of what makes Star Wars so memorable. Just like some actual Star Wars sequels miss the point of what makes Star Wars so memorable. But that's a different conversation.
That's a whole different thing.
But I think that like he's kind of, I think what people don't like about his Watchmen is that it's like slavishly devoted to its fandom. And I think that's it's a different problem with Rebel Moon. It really does become this fanfic of, it doesn't have a soul. It doesn't have any kind of scaffolding holding it together. It's just like, I can make cool Star Wars moments. I understand that these characters are cool. I know what is neat about these movies without any of the kind of underlying heart and soul. But there's a part of me that kind of like doesn't hold that against him. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of endearing to me. It's like you didn't get it, but you really tried.
I know it sometimes feels like people are grading Zack Snyder on a curve because he made a couple really cool looking movies back in the day. 300, super cool, influenced like the way action filmmaking was done for a long time. I liked Watchmen at the time, but the more I go back to it, it's like, it's because you don't have anything to say. It's because all he is saying is, I like the comic, that really holds that movie back. And this one is just like,
wrong. Yeah.
I like Star Wars.
I think that's true.
Some of what Avatar did. And I think after a certain point, just got to put my foot down and be like, we can say no to this. We can say this is bad storytelling. We don't have to give this guy a pass because he knows how to use slow-mo during action sequences. In fact, using slow-mo during action sequences often hurts the impact of those scenes. Like the thing that bugs me with the first Sofia Boutella fight scene is that it is all just like cuts to slow-mo movements of like fairly basic choreography where nothing flows, you don't get a sense of weight, you don't get a sense of her strength or anything. Anyway, it's a whole thing, but I'm tired of giving Zack Snyder a pass. I'll put it that way.
I think based on the reviews and the conversation online, I think a lot of people share Devindra's opinion on this. So
very much. I can't argue with that.
Despite everything we have just said, at the end of the day,
Nope.
At the end of the day, it is impressive that Zack Snyder made a movie.
Half a movie.
Half of a $166 million movie. So,
like a Supreme Court justice, I'm like, I abstain from that statement.
Thank you so much for watching this video of the Filmcast. Check out these other videos that we have available, and be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get other videos from us in the future.
You can also go to thefilmcast.com to catch all of our audio podcast versions of all of our episodes.
And support this podcast at patreon.com/filmpodcast, where you can sign up for ad-free episodes and exclusive After Darks.
Thanks so much to everyone who makes the Filmcast possible.